Hello everyone, my name is Zoë Imani and you're watching my show The Mood Board, only on Blankpaper. Today's episode of The Mood Board is titled Less is More, and as our title insinuates, today we will be talking about minimalism. But before we get into it, I just want to let you guys know that I did write quite a lengthy blog post about this subject. And it just talks about how minimalism is more than simply an aesthetic or even something we can incorporate into our lifestyle. It is something that has a rich, long history, and that stems from an artistic and socio-political movement with influences from Japanese culture and the Netherlands. So please check out that blog post if you want to learn more about minimalism beyond just the trend that minimalism has become today. Please check that out, but without further ado, let's get into today's mood board. So I'm doing something a bit different with colors today. Instead of featuring 3 colors, I'm going to feature an entire color palette and just let the colors speak a bit for themselves. But just to give a bit of description, I've chosen this color palette because I think that it symbolizes nature and necessity, which has a lot to do with minimalism. Minimalism can be described as taking away anything unnecessary and really appreciating what you're left with, the necessities. That's why I chose today's color palette, and I hope you can appreciate it as well. Next, we have textures. I feel like this is the ever-changing category, so please bear with me. I feel like there may be a better word for this, but the 2 things I've chosen in this category today is marble and concrete. I really love these 2 materials because I feel like marble is associated with luxury, while concrete is associated with the bare minimum and the opposite of luxury. It's interesting that both of these materials have become more widely popular with the resurgence of minimalism, even though they kind of stem from opposite spectrums. Marble has become really popular not only as a material but as a graphic design. Concrete is something that has become more prominent in architectural design, and you see a lot more concrete flooring and countertops these days, and I think it is a way to strip a design down to the bare minimum, just the foundation. Honestly, I'm excited for whenever I have my own home one day, just having polished concrete floors because I think they're beautiful. In today's fashion category, I just want to mention 3 designers that have influenced minimalism in fashion today. The first one being Phoebe Philo. She is kind of known for reintroducing minimalism to the fashion world in the early 2000s. Her collections really emphasize functionality. She talks about her women's wear. She doesn't just want it to be something that highlights our silhouette and just looks really pretty, but something that actually is functional for our everyday lives. She's a mother, and she actually has kind of taken a bit of a hiatus from the fashion world to be a mother. So she talks about how that has influenced the way she designs in terms of even her handbags. She wants them to be functional for everyday use and not just to look really pretty. I think that kind of speaks to minimalism a bit beyond just the aesthetic. I really like that about her designs. The second designer I want to mention is Alexander Wang. I was introduced to him as a designer through his H&M collection. I'm not someone who really follows high fashion or the runways, so for me, I found out about him through fashion bloggers and YouTubers who were really excited about his H&M collection, and prior to that I was familiar with his name only, but through that I became familiar with his designs. And this collection in particular is very minimal in terms of colors. It's pretty grayscale, and his collection emphasizes functionality as well. It's a lot of urban activewear and athletic gear. And I just really like the overall aesthetic of this collection and the design. Lastly is someone who's a very controversial person who I myself have my own issues with, but I have to admit he has really beautiful clothes, and that is Kanye West. His Yeezy collection for fall 2015 really kind of brings out the best in minimalism and fashion today, I think, just in what I've seen. His collection really emphasizes earth tones and neutral colors. But beyond just the aesthetic of his clothing line, Kanye West himself kind of has this very minimalist message in terms of the early minimalist movement and what those early artists stood for. And that is that art is for everyone. Art should be accessible and available for everyone to take part in. And Kanye West has consistently said that he wants his collection to be accessible. He wants it to be affordable. And he sees his consumers as his army and all that he needs to validate his work. He doesn't need the high-end fashion houses to validate his work, and he doesn't necessarily even want to work with him, but that he does what he does for the people, and he just has this very democratic message. Now, whether any of that is genuine or just for marketing, I'm not sure. I don't know him. I can't judge him, but I just think it's very interesting that he not only has this minimal aesthetic, but kind of this minimalist message as well. My one problem is the fact that he is partnered with Adidas, and I feel like minimalism today kind of goes hand in hand with sustainability and ethical business practices and a host of other like really great things, whereas Adidas has been called out for not having the best overseas business practices in terms of the factories that they use to make their clothes and whatnot. And they claim that they're trying to improve that. But honestly, I'm always really skeptical of these big brands. And the fact that he works with them is kind of a minus for me. And like I said, I have my own issues with Kanye West in general. But all of that aside, I think he makes really beautiful clothing and I love his designs. And they are a great example of minimalism in fashion today. We are now headed into music. Minimalist music is kind of defined by repetitious patterns, simplicity. What else? There are a few different things, and all the songs/artists that I feature don't clearly or cleanly fall into the lines of minimalist music, but maybe have something about them that could be considered minimalist. And the first song I would like to feature is Weightless by Vasky. Weightless by Vasky, I think, adheres to kind of these minimalist principles in terms of the repetition used and the ambient sounds and noises that are incorporated into this song. It's best described as just ear candy. It's very stimulating and full of pops and crisp sounds, and honestly I love listening to it to brighten my mood. The next thing I would like to feature in this category is actually an album by Mimyo. I think that is how you pronounce the artist's name, and the album is called Floating Ones. Like Weightless, it's very ambient and full of repetitious sounds. It kind of allows you to focus. There's not a ton of stuff going on. It's very crisp sounds that definitely could be considered minimal. I quite enjoy the album. Next, we have the song called Preach by M.O. I really love this song. In fact, it kind of reminds me a bit of, there's a minimalist musician. He's kind of like one of the forefathers of minimalist music, and that is Philip Glass. This song kind of reminds me of his album Einstein on the Beach just a little bit. It also incorporates like African American soul music. I really enjoy this song as well as the music video. It's very minimal as well. The girls' outfits are on point, and it's a bit reminiscent of the 90s, like 90s Aaliyah. Love the song, love the music video, check it out. Lastly, in the music category, we have kind of a last minute add in, but honestly it's one of my favorite songs right now, so I had to make sure it was slipped in here, and that is Crush by Yuna featuring Usher. I love this song. I'm not sure if the song itself necessarily adheres to the minimalist music genre, but the music video is definitely minimalist. It's just in black and white, and it's just kind of like a few different shots. but it still is successful in telling a story. It's just a cute song, so give all these songs a listen and let me know what you think in the comments. Alright, so moving on to film and television. Today I've selected 2 movies for this category. The first one is Ex Machina. I watched this like literally at the beginning of the year. This film definitely totally adheres to a minimalist aesthetic. It's absolutely gorgeous, beautiful. I cannot say enough about the aesthetic, the art direction, the cinematography, and even the story itself is pretty minimal. It only has 4 characters, one of which is not even a major character. So it's really interesting how the story is formed around the 3 main characters. But I do want to give a warning with this film. It has a lot of graphic content and some of the elements are definitely disturbing. So yeah, just keep that in mind if you watch, and there's a lot of profanity. So I just kind of want to put that out there. Other than that, it's a really thought-provoking film. I'll say that. Its subject matter is artificial intelligence, so that should already kind of give you an idea of what kind of film this may be, but I think it kind of does artificial intelligence in a different way. It's still kind of disturbing and futuristic like most AI films. I think there's something a bit less overwhelming about it because many AI films have to do with like an army of robots or this huge mega computer or something that is ruining the lives of millions and takes over the world. Whereas, like I said, this film only has 3 main characters. It kind of discusses artificial intelligence in this bubble, and you'll understand what I mean if you watch the film, but that's all I gotta say about it. If you're interested, definitely check it out for yourself. The next film I want to talk about is Gattaca, and I'm really late to this movie. This movie was made in the 90s and it has a huge cult following, so a lot of you may have seen it already. But I quite enjoyed this film. It has a beautiful, beautiful aesthetic, very minimal, very modern, and there are very few things that date this film. I literally counted the things that were like revealing that it was made in the 90s. One of them that I can remember, there was like a clunky looking keyboard. Very few things. Like, it's so modern and minimal that you really can't even date it. Like, it's still a very relevant and beautiful film. I would recommend it for that alone. But I honestly really love this film and this story. It's set in this futuristic world where people's fates are determined by their genetics. Before you're even born, doctors can test your genes and determine what capabilities you will have, what qualities you'll have, whether you'll have any diseases or defects or disabilities. They determine your fate before you're even born. But also parents, because of this, they can design their children genetically and choose what traits they want their children to have. And so it's very discouraged to have a child naturally and leave things up to chance. This film kind of delves into that world and one boy who is born naturally and him fighting against all the odds and what people tell him he is capable of in life because of his genetics and the things that are imperfect about him. Today for Miscellaneous, I had to include it. It is the book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo. And I'm sure all of you have heard of it. It's insanely popular. But I had to include it because I just want to emphasize, like, if you have not read the book, if you have not tried the KonMari method, like, I cannot recommend it enough. I'm someone who I would definitely categorize as a pack rat. And I realized like I was starting to develop a very unhealthy relationship with my material things. And I don't consider myself materialistic. It's not that I was always craving and wanting more material things. It's just I'm very sentimental. And so the things I had, I just felt this connection with them and like I couldn't let them go. Or I didn't want to get rid of something because what if I needed it one day? And, you know, like almost like a hoarder, but I wasn't a hoarder, but like I definitely had a lot of things and I was starting to just have an unhealthy relationship and with my things, and they were causing me more stress than they were bringing me joy. And that is what the KonMari method is all about. It's just keeping the things that you need and keeping the things that add value to your life and nothing else. And once you go through the KonMari method, I promise you a weight will be lifted. That's how I felt. There were so many things that I kept because I just felt like I had to for some reason or another. But when I decided to get rid of my things based on how much joy they brought to my life or how much added value they gave truly to my life, that's when I felt that I was really genuinely left with the things that I actually wanted and needed, and nothing that just added stress or more weight to my life that just was not necessary. I think that this book has done a good job of popularizing minimalism in a way that can be beneficial to our everyday lives. Next, in the miscellaneous category, I want to talk about YouTubers, because honestly, if it were not for the YouTube community, I feel like I would not have been as aware of minimalism as I am, because so many YouTubers I noticed like have a very minimal aesthetic and kind of built their platform around that aesthetic, and I just came to love it. And it I don't know, like I fell in love with the aesthetic first, and the lifestyle and the desire to live a more minimal life came after. So because of that, I'm kind of grateful that I was introduced to it at all through that. So I just kind of want to point out some YouTubers who both have minimal aesthetics and some who actually promote minimalist lifestyle and give minimalist lifestyle tips on their channel. The first one is Lavender. She goes over the KonMari method on her channel, and she also explores minimalism in some of her videos as well, and gives lots of interesting like videos on how to live the life of your dreams basically. And yeah, her aesthetic is fairly minimal as well. Next, there is Light by Coco. She gives lots of great minimalist tips, whether that's like how to create a capsule wardrobe or how to minimize the things in your life, how to organize. Next is Michelle B. She doesn't consider herself a real minimalist, but she definitely loves the minimalist aesthetic in her channel. Next is Shirley B. Inyang. She also is more aesthetically minimal rather than promoting a minimal lifestyle. Next, we have the Thrifty Hanako. I would definitely check her out. She has such a fun, sweet personality, and I really enjoy watching her videos. Lastly is To The Nines. They have great personalities. They are definitely more minimal and aesthetic, but they really are the first ones who inspired me to kind of have a more minimal wardrobe. They almost exclusively work with neutral colors. I'm sure many of you heard of them though. They're a very popular channel. And lastly is Jen Rogers. I don't know, like I just feel like she has such a genuine presence, and she's so like personable and relatable, and I love her channel. Just the way her channel is, it makes you kind of feel like you know her, and she's so sweet. Like she's left a really sweet comment on one of my videos once, and I don't know, like I fangirled so hard because like she's one of my inspirations. And she does this series on her channel called Dating My Husband, where like she like kind of brings us along on like dates with her husband, and they're the cutest couple, and her channel is just really inspiring and uplifting and minimal.
I almost forgot to mention that she takes dance lessons at 1 Million Dance Studio and takes us all along for her dance journey.
So I really suggest that you watch her videos as well. But yes, that's all the YouTubers that have really kind of inspired me in terms of minimal aesthetic and lifestyle. So lastly, in tech, I just want to talk about a couple apps that I think work practically for like a minimalist lifestyle and also are minimalist in aesthetic. The first one is called Noisely, and I actually checked this one out as like a recommendation from an article talking about minimally designed apps. I really fell in love with it. There's actually an app called White Noise that I use that's like has lots of different sounds that you can listen to help like you fall asleep or relax. Anything you can think of, honestly, like water, wind, fire, crackling, airport ambiance, like you name it. Like I can't get into like all the different things, but it's a ton of stuff, right? But Noisely is a minimally designed app. It just has like a few different sounds that you can like layer or listen to alone, and the design is just so sleek and minimal. When I can't be bothered to search through a ton of sound, I just use this app. It's very relaxing, very minimal. It's good for like just like meditation or just relaxing or just to put in the background while you're working. So I really love this app. And the last app I want to feature has been totally totally integral to Blankpaper functioning this year, and that is Evernote. I knew when I started this channel I wanted to really plan out my videos and what I wanted to do. So I'd heard about Evernote for a long time, and I just finally decided to use it, and I'm so glad I did because it's really helped me to organize everything for Blankpaper, all my ideas, how I'm going to execute those ideas. It's so easy to use. It's a great format, and it can sync up to both your laptop and your mobile device, so you don't miss a beat. I really recommend this for like keeping your life organized and keeping the stress to a minimum. So that's it for today's mood board. Thank you guys so much for watching. I would just like to mention before I go though that I am actually having a short experimental film coming out sometime soon. Basically, it's going to be a film that highlights my time studying abroad in Japan. For those of you who don't know, I studied abroad in Japan last year around this time. And I always regretted that I never journaled while I was in Japan because it was a time where I grew so much and I experienced so many new things. I really wish that I had taken the time to journal more. So basically what this film is going to be is you getting an inside look into my diary as though I did write one while I was there. I'm still working on it, so it's not finished yet, so I don't know when it's going to come out, but I just want you guys to keep a lookout for that. And I just think it was really appropriate to mention in this mood board because, like I said, I did leave for Japan around this time last year, and also a lot of minimalism has been influenced by like Japanese culture and like their architecture and like design elements. I don't know, I just think it's really appropriate to mention a film about my time in Japan in this episode. But yeah, that's all for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.